The meal we are doing today is chicken marsala, and that's basically a traditional Italian dish from Sicily, and it dates back forever. But the main ingredient that makes chicken marsala is Marsala wine, and those vineyards were typically out of the northern part of Sicily, and they use this wine, the combination of beef and chicken stock, to make a sauce. And, there's many different sauces. You're dealing with Italian cuisine, such as ricotta, Alfredo, marinara. And this is one of those sauces that I don't typically see a lot of people make. So I wanted to kind of share this recipe, show you how you could do it at home, show you the ingredients that you need to do it, to make it, and show you how to complete the dish from start to finish. The first thing we're going to start on right now is going to be the sauce. The sauce that I am making, and this is going to be pretty regular, and this is going to be a traditional style recipe that you'll see if you were to Google or look something in a recipe book or something of those sorts. You would see that this is going to be very familiar. Typically, you have your fat or your oil, and today we're going to be using the sauce, a little bit of olive oil, not extra virgin. You're always using just a basic olive oil. Extra virgin is always an ingredient that is used for salad dressings or cold blends. You never want to use extra virgin olive oil for cooking because it has a low burn rate. So that means your oil will burn and you'll get that burnt flavor. It just won't hold up under the heat. So we have butter, olive oil, garlic. Now you can use chopped bottled or chopped jarred, but I prefer to use fresh because you get the most savory flavor out of the fresh. And typically what I've noticed with jarred garlic is it becomes a little bit bitter and you don't get the full flavor from chopping it from clove to fresh. And obviously clove garlic is anything you find in the store in the produce section, and I use almost 3/4 of a clove. I make quite a bit of sauce. This is probably going to be enough for 6 to 8 servings. The recipe that I'll provide later is going to be closer to 2 to 3 servings, something that you will prepare at home. I use fresh parsley. I use seasonings. I use white pepper, black pepper, salt, onion powder, and garlic powder. The stock that and this is kind of an important thing that you need to remember, is not only do you have the wine and fats and your seasonings, you got to have a stock that fits with the sauce. And typically a lot of people just use a beef stock. I like to use 3/4 beef stock and 1/4 chicken stock. It seems to be the best blend. And you'll see as it cooks down, there you go step to step, but this is going to be where we're going to go from here. The last thing that you're going to use in the sauce is you're going to cut through the saltiness and kind of a little bit of the bitterness from the wine with the heavy cream, and that kind of offsets it and gives it that final touch of creaminess. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Once you have all your ingredients prepared and ready, it's a lot easier to obviously make the sauce. And one thing I forgot to mention, obviously, mushrooms are one of those items that always will be in a traditional Italian restaurant in the sauce. Now you will see Marsala without the mushrooms as well, but this time we will use the mushrooms. Okay, we'll start off with the induction cooktop. At home, you use whatever you need to use. You're going to put your heat at about medium set. Most ovens are set from a high of 10, a low of 1. So you're going to want it right there in the middle, which would be 5. The first step is starting off. I'm going to melt the butter. I'm going to add just a little bit of olive oil. What you're going to notice when you cook the sauce, especially if you're using mushrooms, is the mushrooms are going to soak up a lot of the fat, the oils. And that's going to take in a lot of the flavor. And then once the mushrooms cook thoroughly through, they'll have their own juice that adds into the flavor of the sauce. You can see our butter melting, our oil. The first thing you'll add, you add your fresh chopped garlic. You want to cook those cloves down just a bit before you add your mushrooms. Now, with a Marsala, you can serve it typically with potatoes. If you go over rice, you can really go over any starch. Traditionally, pasta is what you're going to want to use, and I cooked a fettuccine that will add to this later on. Now the sauce is cooked now. The second step, butter, oil, garlic, and then you go ahead with your mushrooms. After you add your mushrooms, you're going to go ahead and season those mushrooms and season what will be in the sauce. From there, I'm going to add about the majority of the fresh parsley. Now, this fresh parsley was taken right out of the herb garden here at the Senior Center, which is just a phenomenal thing to have access to. Those fresh herbs are obviously open to the public, but we want you to try not to be too generous with what you're taking, and this is only a small bunch, and it goes very far. It adds a freshness to the sauce, and we're going to actually garnish the dish with parsley that's left at the very end. Any questions? Yeah. Masala. Masala would be Indian. This is Marsala. Yeah, it's 100% different. The seasonings, No. A masala does have the coriander, the curries. It's a traditional Indian dish, but Marsala is the Italian. I don't think they may sound alike, but they certainly are not the same dish. We can do masala next time. Anything, we'll just go M's. Masala, Marsala. Oh yeah, no, it's wonderful. But good question. They do sound quite a bit the same. I mean, who knows? You could be in a restaurant, not know what you're ordering. You think you're getting Marsala, you end up with Masala. You never know. But they're both wonderful dishes and very traditional to the region, to the culture. As I'm mixing these up, you can see the parsley, the garlic, the mushrooms, it's all coming together. I'll turn the heat up just a bit, and I try to, as I'm cooking any dish that's in a pot or a pan, while I'm adding ingredients, I try and fluctuate the heat just a little bit, because the pan's not going to be able, unless it's a thick milled plate or pan, it's not going to be able to hold the heat. So sometimes you may need to go from half heat back up to 3/4, just to catch up, to get you at the rate of heating that you need. And then you can back it off once you add all your other ingredients. You don't need to cook the mushrooms all the way through. They can be basically part cooked, or let's say halfway cooked. This would be sort of what you're looking for. And at this point in time, you're going to add the Marsala. The Marsala wine. The Marsala wine, you can find this typically in most grocery stores around town. I bought this from the Harris Teeter across the street. Taylor is the most familiar name that you'll see on the shelves. You'll look where the sherries and the flavor wines are. Sometimes they have them outside of the alcohol areas in their own cooking wine section. So that's typically where you can find it.
You can't drink that wine, right?
You can drink it. This was originally a drinking wine. It's a high alcohol percentage wine at 18%. But not many people enjoy a Marsala wine. Well, most people enjoy a traditional red or a wine of Sauvignon Blanc, but this is typically your sherries and your Marsalas. They're designated for cooking per se. I'm going to add close to a quarter bottle, and this is for 6 to 8 servings. Again, I'll give you exact cup measurements once we post the recipe. But I'm just trying to give you a concept of how to do this in a little bit bigger scale. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want that Marsala to start boiling or cooking down. You want to cook out all the alcohol. A lot of people are like, vodka sauce, or you're adding maybe something to a white wine to a scampi. You're not adding the alcohol, and you should never taste the alcohol at the end of the dish. You should only taste what's left of the basically the ingredients that went into the wine. So you have the taste of the grapes, and you'll have the richness in the fermentation process. At this point, we've cooked quite a bit of the Marsala down. I'm at a boil right now, and what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and add our stock. I added it slowly. I probably made a little bit too much stock, but I didn't want to run out of stock either. I had to wing this one. I totally forgot that I had this picture. But this is a wonderful dish. It'll turn out excellent. We're going to go ahead and bring this to a boil. Let all the flavors kind of combine. The last thing we're going to add is a little heavy cream. Any questions? Yeah? Good to go? Excellent. One thing I'm also going to do that I won't typically do, I can cook the sauce down to where you get the right viscosity and the thickness that you need. So if you're cooking 2 to 3 servings, that's very easy to achieve. With this one, since we're doing extra servings or bulk sauces, I try and use a thickener of some sort so that I can get to the right profile on the thickness, like I said, of the sauce, so that when it tops the chicken, it holds on to the chicken and it also holds on to the pasta. So today, what I'll use is a little bit of all-purpose flour, but I like to use a gluten-free, typically a rice flour or tapioca flour. And all it does is it's thinner. There's less of a chalkiness when you're adding it to sauces. And again, some people will argue that it's healthier. It's not necessarily healthier, but a lot of people are, as far as allergies go and sensitivities go, gluten-free seems to be the easiest way to achieve what flour does without using flour. When you're using flour or any sort of thickener, you're going to want to take very little at a time and add. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to mix it with a fluid before you actually put it in. And what that's going to do is that's going to stop it from clumping up. If you were just to throw the flour, the thickener into the hot sauce, it would immediately clump up, and you would have to strain it out, and it would be a big mess. So anytime you add a thickener, remember, add some sort of a cold fluid first, mix it, and then add it to the hot fluid later. Okay. I'm just going to use the cream, which is fine. You can use anything. Water. Could have added this to the Marsala if I wanted to, but the idea is get that right. add it slowly because again, you can always thicken, but you can't ever loosen. And and to loosen, you would obviously have to add back all those other ingredients. So you always want to go from thin to thick at a very slow rate, and always bring to a boil because once it starts to boil or to a heavy simmer, that's when you're going to be able to tell how much the thickener is working. So small add light amounts at any given time to get you to where you want to be. Getting very close. We started on medium, and then we went ahead, and now we're at about 3/4 to high. So most ovens or most stovetops, from 1 to 10. Like I said, we started about 5 with the garlic because we didn't want to burn the garlic. We didn't want to overcook our mushrooms. We didn't want to caramelize too much. And then we went from there to a 3/4 heat once we had our moisture and our fluid in there. And then that's pretty much where we're going to stay at until I get the sauce to the right consistency. Just a tiny bit more cream without the thickener. Doesn't take much. This is going to create a nice rich sauce. This is kind of, you're almost looking for kind of a light brown color to this. While the sauce is cooking, you go ahead and get these cutlets ready for the next round of preparation. And a chicken cutlet typically is just a light flour. Again, I'm using the all-purpose gluten-free mix, and I'm using thin cuts of chicken. The idea of thin cuts of chicken is one, they're very easy to cook through thoroughly and quickly and easy. And then the reason why you're putting them in the flour and pan frying them is so that they hold onto the sauce. Once they're cooked, that texture and that flour that's on the chicken is going to give the chicken the ability to hold on to the sauce better. All for a better flavor profile. It also gives a little texture and a little bit bigger bite once it gets up. Now, the chicken cutlets, you buy chicken breasts, you buy chicken thighs, you buy chicken tenderloins for if you want. I like to cut them thin to the consistency that I want, the thickness that I want, but you can always pound these things out. And when I say pound them out, you put them in a plastic bag or you put a double wrap side with plastic wrap, and then you can use some sort of a heavy pot, use a hammer, whatever you prefer, hammer them out, create a thin, nice little chicken cutlet that will be fried in the pan. Sometimes you deal with fresh chicken, eggs, any sort of proteins. You're going to want to wash your hands or change out your gloves from one step to the next. Sauce is cooking down. It's very close to where I need it to be. It's going to stay hot, and as it cools, it's going to thicken. And the amount of time it takes to cool, that's going to give us the amount of time that we're going to need to prepare our chicken cutlets. And then be able to plate the final dish. What?
You cook this for your family at home?
Do I cook it for my family at home? Yeah, I mean, I've cooked it. I've cooked this dish many times. I cook a lot of different things for the family. It's something that we've had on the menu here many years ago.
Okay.
And we may consider putting it back on. Again, for here, we just can't do a chicken cutlet. Do cutlets for 800, 900 people. That would take forever, but we will do it with a regular chicken breast. I think we've done it over rice. But when I do it at home, again, it's a little, you can be a little bit more detailed. You can use a little bit more unique flavors, and you kind of get that perfect flavor. Because as you're going, you should really be tasting the sauce. Obviously, I'm not going to taste the sauce. I have enough experience making this, in the past, that I know what it needs to look like. I understand the recipe well enough. But again, this is a great savory dish. I think this is a certain dish that, again, you may prefer in colder weather, but I personally think it goes well in warmer weather, summer, spring, the seasonal, for any season, basically what I'm saying, because in the end, I think it's a light enough dish, and again, it's not a braised meat of any sort. Again, it's a chicken cutlet, and that's pretty much good to serve, I think, at any time of the year for any sort of occasion. It's not too exquisite, and it's not too simple.
You're a regular chef.
Huh?
You're a regular chef.
My regular chef?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
That's right.
You cook for a living.
Well, yeah, so I do most of the cooking here.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh.
And I own a catering company.
Oh.
So we've been around for about 12 years.
Yeah.
Next time I'll wear some of my chef jackets. I got chef jackets.
Chef hat and all that
I
stuff.
got that stuff. But
Yeah.
next time I'll dress up. Next time we do Marsala, I'll dress up. I'll put on the hat and everything. The ones that I have a couple that it will show like it's my name, and then I got a lot from like cooking competitions where like I placed like first or second, and so I have a lot of those unique different jackets that oh hey, Ryan won whatever this cooking contest, or so those are pretty cool to have. But again, I'm not a big fan of dressing up like this traditional chefs.
There's a restaurant down here, right down here, it says tandoori. Somebody told me that means chicken in Pakistan or India.
I couldn't tell you.
You don't
I'll have
know
to,
that,
I don't. I'll have to look it up.
Masala and all that stuff.
We're gonna, you're gonna have to take me. You're gonna have to take me there. Do a field trip. I know exactly where it's at. I've never actually ate it. I heard it's wonderful though. I've been there for many years. So.
They said it's chicken.
Chicken.
Yeah. In Sanskrit or
Whatever. Yeah. That's what we're gonna start putting on our menus for chicken. People are gonna call in. All right. Sauce is ready to roll. We're there. We're halfway there. Everyone take a breather. All right. Let's get started on the cutlets. All right, this may be a little high, so we're gonna drop back down to about 5 or 6 on your stovetop, okay? Again, back to we're not gonna use butter, we're just gonna use olive oil for this. And again, do not use extra virgin or virgin olive oil. Those olive oils are strictly for cold salads, cold ingredients. They're not made for cooking at high heat. You have to find the lighter color. You further a little less refined and a yellowish tint versus the deep green, thick oils that you'll see at the supermarket. This is cheaper as well because it's just a lot less expensive to produce this oil versus, again, your extra virgin. I had to learn that many years over, trying to take a shortcut, grabbing that bottle, grabbing the nearest bottle to me, and then burning whatever I may have in that pan. You're just going to add enough oil so that you're not deep frying these cutlets. You're just adding enough oil to line the pan. Again, lining the pan. These cutlets are going to absorb some of this oil, so I may have to add a little bit as we go. But the way you'll know that the oil is typically hot, you can always throw a little bit of water into the oil. Now, when I say add a little bit of water, let your fingertip drop it. When you get a pop, that first pop, you're pretty much ready to go. The other way you can tell is as you're looking at the pan, you can see the oil start to vibrate with the reflections. That's kind of a weird, way of describing it, but you can see the oil sort of change its thickness and its viscosity, and then as you're seeing the oil sort of change thickness and viscosity, as you're moving the oil around, and you get a little tiny bit of smoke come up from that oil, you're going to be ready to throw those cutlets in.
Do you know any of the competitions you were in, like Top Chef or?
No, nothing on a national level. Those
Okay.
were all in Wilmington or regional events.
Uh-huh.
I mean, there's like a battleship competition, and usually it's like named after the place that's holding the event. So like, again, the battleship. One was at like Leland Park. One was a healthy cooking festival. One was like Wilmington chili cook-off.
That's a little
Yeah, I can't remember the names of them, but it's fun to go out and do the competitions. I don't do many of them anymore, and obviously we haven't done since COVID. But usually they're off-site as well, so it's not quite as easy to bring equipment to a park or to somewhere that you're unfamiliar and try and cook. If you're not used to it, you're used to being a restaurant cook, you don't necessarily a caterer. It's very, very complicated. So I had a little bit of that strength on my hands and experience that gave me a little bit of a leverage, a better chance of winning, just because of what I'm used to, how I operate on a day-to-day basis. Now, on chicken cutlets, what you're looking to do is you're probably looking at about 45 minutes on each side. And what you want to do is get a light brown finish. And as you're going, you can sort of turn these cutlets one by one and just see sort of the color that you're getting. Once you get the right color, that's typically going to give you a concept of when you're going to want to flip these cutlets. Again, you're looking for a light brown.
How do you have time to prepare and have a catering?
Well, this is typically the biggest part of the catering business.
Okay, yeah.
And then during the past year, we haven't had many private catering. But yeah, I mean, typically work. If you really wanted to work really hard, every single job, I could work 100 hours a week. I mean, there's been weeks where I work, I think 95 hours, 100 hours. You don't want to do it that forever. So I enjoy just cooking here for the most part. It's less stress, and it's a good cause, and it's a nice facility, and you get to talk and communicate with nice people. Good gift. Oh yeah, you gotta be careful. You gain a lot of weight. It's very easy. People drop off donuts all the time. So we not only cook food, and we cook breakfast, and then people bring us donuts. Now I'm doing a cooking show. There's a lot of food around. But it's nice. Everyone loves food. All right, so we're just pan frying these cutlets. Should take more than 10 minutes to cook these cutlets. Get it brown on one side to flip, and then you trim to the other side just to make sure that they finish off the way you need them. Look, that's the brown that I'm looking for. That color right there is about perfect. After this round, we're going to have one more round. Now I'm going to start plating some fettuccine pasta
cutlet sauce, and then some people like to put a little bit of grated Parmesan cheese on top of that. One thing you got to remember about frying anything in the kitchen, don't have anything that you catch on fire, close by. Don't use, try to have a fire extinguisher close by. Baking soda, possibly salt. Grease fires don't work like regular fires. Can't put them out with basic water. Like again, like I said, they makes grease pop. You would add water to grease fire, or it would expand the grease, and the fire would just expand as the grease goes throughout your kitchen, and then you're in big trouble with that one. Always practice safety. Put in a few more cutlets here, and add a little more oil. You see it's smoked a little bit. As soon as I add these cutlets, it's going to cool the pan down. We're going to go from there. Again, with the gloves. Oh.
Things with the machine.
Do what? Cut what with the machine? The cutlets? I do it by hand. I hold the chicken down with the palm of my hand, and then I cut through, but I don't suggest the everyday chef do that. You're most likely going to cut your fingers. So like I said, it's much easier just to put them in a plastic bag and pound them out. Cut them to size, 2 to 4 ounce portions, and then from there, you can then pound those out instead of trying to cut up fish. Again, if you've been cooking in the kitchen, you have strong knife skills and you're comfortable doing that, then go ahead, cut through, or try it out and maybe injure yourself a couple times and then decide if that's if you want to keep doing it the hard way. That's the way you go look at it. Let me go ahead and clean up like now for our audience here. And then I'll put together the other plate in just a moment. We brought more tongs. I think I'll manage it. If you got extra tongs for live, that'd be great. I think I'll just give it one. What's your favorite Italian dish? You don't like Italian food? There you go. Most simple. Most traditional.
My favorite is eggplant parmesan.
Miss Barbara virtually says eggplant parmesan is her favorite.
Oh, eggplant parmesan is delicious.
It's delicious.
I have no idea.
And eggplant, eggplant parmesan is one of those dishes that takes quite a bit of time because again, you're going, in Italian cooking, almost everything is it's lightly fried as the cutlet would be, and that would be the same thing with your eggplant parm. So you're not only going through the process of cutting the eggplant, making the sauce, getting the cheeses together, layering the entire dish. It's a delicious dish.
It is.
For most home cooks, it's quite a process and a lot of energy and effort. But when you knock it out on something like eggplant parmesan, it's incredible. Okay, just remember to turn off your oven, your stovetop. Just try and finish just a little bit. Now we're gonna go ahead and plate.
I had to do some time putting it onto the service, and I can't remember what the names were now. Italian food.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. It's easy to
It's
cook.
easy.
Yeah,
It's cheap.
yeah.
Parmesan cheese. And again, we've got pretty much a completed dish. I went with fettuccine. I just butter and oil those noodles after I cook them. I have my sauce with my mushrooms, my butter, garlic, oil, seasonings, Marsala wine, broth, heavy cream, and then a thickener. And with that sauce, we set to the side. We made our chicken cutlets. We added our chicken cutlets. We sauced on top of the chicken, a little bit to the pasta, a little bit of Parmesan Reggiano, and then some fresh parsley as garnish. And it's a great presentation. It's a wonderful dish. And you know, if you want to try it at home, you know, we're going to post the recipe. You can always watch the video and just kind of see me step by step go through the process. But again, it's a pretty impressive dish, and it's something that not a lot of people can do at home. But once you do it once you try it out, once you get the ball rolling, you'll figure it out, and you're gonna love the outcome of what you got going on. All right. All right. Who wants to try? Are we gonna try? You gonna try? All right. Here. Cool. Any questions from the audience? Yes, of course, here. Any questions from anybody else right now? No?
No, I enjoyed it.
She said she enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I enjoyed cooking for you.
It's good to see you, Miss Barbara.
Thank
okay,
you for joining us.
Have a good
okay.
afternoon.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.